Don't think we've already done to item, there's an item, gifts and hospitality policy. It's not on the agenda. Marcus sent it today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just number, it's just a different number. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not changed. Yes, it is on that.
It is. Yeah, I see it. I see it, sorry. Right. Number annual investment spend. You can explain this.
So there is just a small amendment. So you've already agreed with strategy. So in the agenda report, there's just a suggested 2 wording changes to at least in point 4.3 and then up to 12 months fixed period under section 6.2.
I'm really comfortable with it. I was just wondering though, because obviously it's widening the remit. Can you just remind me, does it come back to here every 6 months for us to check what are the safety nets? Because we're making a change to the ordinance, so we might have that policy.
So there's a review of all of the policies between 12 months and 2 years, unless we need to bring it back sooner to make any amendments to all of them.
Brilliant. Motion for inclusion. Yes, Paul. A second. All in favour? Thank you. Keep my mother's got definitely. Right. The survey for the Castle Green and Victoria Park toilets and the I haven't seen it. It's not.
So it's we commissioned the 2 surveys. There is a report attached to the agenda if everybody else has seen it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have lots of questions already. So again, really comfortable with this because we're taking on the toilets. The questions that I did have, one related to have we actually now signed the asset transfer for these toilets from Somerset Council. So therefore, should we be doing them at a time when actually we don't own them? And then my next question is, I believe residents advised that in particular in relation to Victoria Park, they were surveyed in the past. Do we know when that was? Even though I don't think it matters in some regard when it was, because it would be good to have an up-to-date one, but I wouldn't want it to be that it was done in 2022 as an example. But I guess it would be interesting to note how these assets yet transferred.
So it's currently with the solicitors at the moment who are dealing with the asset transfer, but the order has said that they have transferred to us, so we're therefore the owners of it. The survey that was done before was in 2018, and they provided us with some of the results and a form which we sent out to the working group, which they came instead.
I'd be happy to propose this unless anyone's got any other questions.
Yes.
Just a quick question from me. Obviously, I support the survey request. Is this for just the project is project completely from the Victoria Park facilities? So I'm talking about the changing facilities as well, going total agreement.
It's to understand the condition of the building before we do anything. Yeah.
So let's ask them questions. You mentioned these. What about the rest of the toilets? How many are actually in the transfer? And what condition are they not? They worry me. The one by the station, I think, was closed 8 years ago. Trying to transfer everything across.
So all of the toilets that was on the register, the asset register, and they just back the order, someone just come over. to the town council. They're all listed on the website for everybody. I think the working group at the moment are concentrating on the 2 toilets, and that's a recommendation that's been put forward.
Can I ask another, obviously, question, but I'll turn to it.
Ray, we can't hear you. Sorry, I think that might be my further. Sorry, Ray.
I will leave yourself over. Can we expect any financial help from the council, from the Somerset Council? Because we've taken on something which was first price towards Somerset Western Tourism, and now from the council. Maybe it's time we seriously look and say, well, they weren't in a good condition. They need to be here, but we need money towards it. Are we going to discuss that with them, or are they just going to say, here, you've got the toilets, now you take them over? I think it's unfair.
So the toilets were transferred as they were by from the original, so it's now down to the town council who is, who owns it or leases it to make any renovations.
Frederica is going to propose it, and the school secretary. Thank you, Anna. Everybody agrees? Yes. Thank you. Right. Still reports, recommendations. This actually this afternoon.
So this is just to be noted, so if anybody has any questions, just it's
I've always got questions, and I'm not going to apologise, I've just got questions. So, I'm new to the field when it comes to town and parishes and how they work, just because Taunton Town Council is new. Do we have to prescribe to the 1, 2, 3 list when it comes to still compared to that a unitary or district authority has to relate to? Because normally there's like set things that we have to spend on. Is that the case here? And I know this is only an update, so sorry that I'm going down the rabbit hole here. And then my other question is, do we keep track of the still that we are expected to receive? Still is based on a time-specific date, and if you don't spend it in a set time, then you have to hand it back. Does that also apply to town and parishes?
Yeah, so the answer to that is yes, we do have to be able to report separately on any still funds, and we've got 5 years to spend the allocated amounts. We get some prior notification of still funds that's potentially coming to the town council, and if there is a neighbourhood plan, we would get 25%, but without one it's 15%.
I guess that's another question for another day, is whether we as a council want to do a neighbourhood plan and all the work that has to go into a neighbourhood plan, especially inside of Taunton.
Yeah, it is actually on the list of something to look at in the future.
Can I just check, is the amount that's stated in this report already in the budget? Because obviously it's projected money to come to us, and we have not 100% guaranteed in some cases.
It's not included within the budget, so obviously it's a separate financial aspect that the council will report on.
So, with this still money, I believe still money has to be spent in the areas that it's meant to, where the money's coming from, in those particular areas. Will we have a list of projects to run in those particular areas, with the, maybe having discussions with the previous parish councils, which the town council then took on responsibility for, if there were previous ideas that they already had allocated for the money for those particular things, or how does it specifically work?
So it's down to the town council as a whole as to where they want to spend the funds within the parish or Taunton.
So just checking them, say Orchard Grove, I've got 100, nearly 200 grand coming in still money from there. The town council could decide to spend the money in another part of Taunton as opposed to over there. So that'd be so.
I'll just say the last one, I think, it concerns me that with the idea of a town and neighbourhood plan, is that at the top of the agenda when it was coming ahead for, which, there.
Yeah, it's just something, that's just to be looked on, it's on the radar.
But they should all realise that it takes about 2 years at least, if not more. And but it's worth doing. Okay. Yes, French, sorry.
Yes, but it's, it does give us a bit of flexibility about where and what we can spend it on, like the previous one, section 106, where you have to specifically say what you want to with the money. But as a council, we can sort of decide where we're going with it.
I'm sorry, but we were not allowed to use that money for propping up the council or anything like that at all. It has to be on a new project. So maybe we think, oh, we've got much money in our top.
It doesn't have to be on a new project, it
It has
can be on a refurbishment or
Yes.
replacement.
What's your back? Okay. Can I have a proposal, the voice accepted that report? And edit with, thank you, everybody agrees? And yes, pass. Dispensation of the code to charge now. I'm sorry, for something this thing is not working on. Depending on what we tell it, we need, it works perfectly.
Okay, so this is just a flow chart for councillors when they look to see if they've got any interest or dispensations. It just makes it easier for you to work out and establish when you answer yes to one question and you'd go into no. So it's just a procedure to help you related in your decisions.
So any questions? Proposal, please. Thanks, Vanessa. Second. Thank you very much. Everybody? Read, yeah, okay, fine. Right, the Freedom of Information Act policy. Do you want me to explain? Because I do understand freedom of information. Right, the freedom of information that any person or persons or organisations can ask us in writing for information on something we're doing. And there's nothing we have to reply to. And we've got a certain amount of time we have to reply. I'm going to go something.
20 days, working days.
Working days. So it's important to show people we're open. For one, would be extremely notified that we will go by the book. Has anybody got any questions? Okay, recap. So,
Just trying to find, and I may have missed it in the policy, will we publish the findings when people do FOIs on our own website so that we don't duplicate it when individuals want something, it just shows, yeah, that it's there and we're not having to respond all the time over again. So if I could just come back to the vote on it, you're nodding at me, so I'm going to go with that is the case. And then I just wonder whether there is a little bit of training or for councillors, which I've had to do this in my other local government roles, that we will be emailed to see if we have anything on our emails to confirm whether that is requested of us. But it might be that councillors just need a bit of a hand or just know what they need to do because they have a right to give that information as well on their councillor emails, isn't it? If I'm right.
Yeah, it's for members as well as the town council as well. But yes, it will be on the website. We've already got a page set up for transparency, freedom of information, and we will ensure we get the training needed should it request them.
proposal, please. That's all. And don't reach this time. Everybody agreed? So this is the way I did it what we are. So, right. Yes, and hospitality policy. Then we need to know, you may be able to explain to understand again what it is.
So there was an agenda report that came out as well through this. It's just formally recorded and it gives all hospitality. It just gives you the procedure to work through for how to report it.
Just in terms of sort of site competence, there's a certain amount to go back.
Yeah, it is. And below 50 management.
Can I say one other thing, be careful. Some cases know really, but others at times, be careful that you accept a gift. That the value of that gift is not what you might have been think was, it's worth $10. It might be worth a downside more, so be very careful. People may come unstuck with it. Any questions on that? No? I have a proposal. You, all, second. So, everybody in favour? Right, complaint procedures.
Yeah, so again, this is just a procedure to ensure that we've got a process for any complaints that come into the government policy document and procedure for it, which will be available on the website. We do put all of our policies on the website as they go, you can see them starting to match that there.
Can I just say something again about this policy? They may seem not important. I know again, like council, I understand it. They are important. Don't do, well, yes, we've read it. All our policies, but another place for my council are checked yearly. And the clerk put a crossword in it. She changed one and then it goes through. And only at the very last minute did she say, you're voting for something you will not be remembered. It's a warning to you. Not like that clerk.
Any changes that would be made to your policy would be tracked, so you would be able to see when you do the review whether it be tracked.
We did.
2 years.
Okay. Is there any question there? Yes, Tom.
It's just a point on this one, just a minor one, because our clerk's name has changed since the policy was written, so we should probably update that on the policy as well. So that it's accurate, and congratulations.
We'll have to change all of that.
I presume the council they do know.
Yes.
Good. Yes, Richard, lady first.
I really welcome this and the fact that it gives our residents a way of holding us to account. And I was just having a look, and I think that actually the timescales are really reasonable. Bear in mind, I work in the financial service sector and we're heavily regulated, and I think 21 as an equivalent of this. 21 days seems a reasonable amount for us to be able to do that. But there may be times when you need more time, but I think it's about how we then keep the resident up to date if there is more digging that you need to do. I also like the fact that we also appreciate that not every single comment raised may initially be dealt with as a complaint, because we know, for example, people want our toilets to be cleaned better. That could be seen as a complaint in the first, but actually it's about our everyday maintenance. But if that keeps going, then we can do that through our own complaint process. So I think that's a really reasonable thing to document in here, so that residents understand how they can interact. I was intrigued by the councillor panel, and I just wanted to double check whether or not it says that it's going to be the leader or deputy leader, and then would it have to go to full council first to appoint it, or does it come to this committee as we oversee it? I was just trying to work out how you would get those two councillors on board when we do it over email. I may have misread that though.
Yeah, so we'd have to set up a complaints panel and it'd be taken from usually people. Residents register.
Yes, Paul.
Apologies, I might have missed it again. I'm sure this will never happen, but what happens if the complaint is about its own clerk?
I think that was selection, it would go to the mayor or the leader of the council.
Does that need to be stated in?
I think that is another, I'd say,
There is one, yeah.
it's another, yeah, I've seen it in another one, I thought.
Yes, sir.
We also have to consider the world situation where perhaps, they do, and a lot of the councillors are somehow implicated in a case. So what would happen then? Would it go to an outside independent body or?
So if it was what's the
If there was a case where, basically the majority of the councillors, basically sort of implicated everyone as such within the council, would it go to an independent outside body?
we'd have to get some independent advice on it, so we've also got South, the able to assist with any complaints. We don't all bring people in to do it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Proposal again. Thanks, Alan. And,
Yes, yes, I think.
oh, we all really sorry. Data breach and data security breach report forms. Does the council have a data policy which should that get on the covering that?
So this is a form to fill in the procedure for policy.
It doesn't make it on the policy. It's on I thought that. Anything that in the data policy should be in the data policy.
Yeah, we have got an ICO one, and this is also the data breach policy, the data security breach reporting form, so it's all within this
Yeah.
policy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just independent notes, sorry. Are there any questions on this? I'm going to breach it to anyway. Can I have a motion, please? Sorry, but this is the way I've been had to do it. At another project, I'm doing this information gathering was happening. Yes, sir. Oh, do you want to? You propose. Frederick would second it. Everybody agree? Thank you. Subject access request policy and subject access. That's the same thing again, it's the same.
Yeah, the policy will be form.
Any questions on it? Just, I'm not being. But what, I'm not quite sure, I'm fully understand, we've got the policy, so we shouldn't have a policy. Why do we need that reform to put in?
So a form, so there was a number of the public that wanted to do a subject access request, they would complete the form, send in to us, so we knew what information they want.
Just,
I think they actually fully support form, again, another line I deal with, SARS. And it really does help to know the remit that people are actually requesting, because sometimes they only want a small element, and the amount of work that goes into SARS, because I don't know if we do this at the town council, but if we were to have a telephone system and record all of our phone calls, you then have to transcribe those calls that relate to those individuals. And that is a huge volume of work. And unlike that of a freedom of information request, you actually have to give everything over that relates to those people. And so the volume of work that this creates, rightly so, but it's onerous on those that are involved. I think understanding what it is that a person is after, because stars can also be used when people aren't feeling that they're being heard in what it is that they want, so they use another mechanism in order to try and get the information that they feel they're not receiving.
Sorry, I'm just making, get clear my agenda. We're agreeing these policies. What about the rest of the councils?
So the Finance and Governance Committee have got the remit for delegated powers, which was given when the full council second committee in terms of reference to approve all of these.
Yeah, that might understand. But every single councillor should be aware of these policies and what they stand. There's no excuse. If one of them breached on those policies, it's no good saying, I'm sorry, I didn't know. They should all know.
No, so once the policies are all approved, we'll make sure they're sent out to all of the council members. And all council members are given access to every committee and every report that's put through. So everyone will have a chance of seeing it, and they're all published live on the website as well.
Can I have a proposal again? Agree to them? Second. And everybody agreed? All covering yourself. That means that people will agree to everything. Sorry. Like paper and electronic communications, retention and disposal costs. You understand something about that? Really happens.
So this is obviously, I think it all falls in within the whole unit of the subject access request and what data that they're holding, and how we dispose of it. We keep information for. Practice that we keep.
Most of the council actually for it's normally been paper records. Electronically, not. This is the free that then information like that.
The information that goes, so there's some information obviously that we have to keep a certain amount of time, which is obviously specified in the policy. And taken then.
Sorry, I'm asking what you might think is done. But I was once told that if you don't know the answer, ask. If you don't ask, you will. Yes, very agree.
One of the interesting things I find on this policy, and I'm just trying to locate it, so excuse me if I've missed it, is in relation to councillor emails. So if we take into account that we've got our emails within a 4-year period, who is doing the active management of it as to whether or not we're holding that, say we were then to be re-elected and they just keep going and going? Is it on us to delete those out? And therefore, do I need to set myself reminders? Gosh, if I ever did that with my personal email account, I would love it because everything is goes in the bits in my personal email. But it would be interesting to know as to our responsibilities as members on the data that we hold.
Yeah, it is your responsibility to delete any emails that come through. As far as the office goes, we have them managed through Teams and things like that, but the IT company will give us reminders to clear our inboxes. And so anything that's dealt with, I will say it's dealt with and done. Delete the email and see I which would narrow down if you have freedom of information request or a subject access request. Or the information that you've told.
Any other questions? No? Proposal again, please. Yes, thanks, Eddie. Second. Yes, we agree, thank you. What do you favour? Yes. Thank you. Purchase order policy. Sorry, purchase order policy amendments.
Yeah, Sally will do this one.
At the last meeting, it was asked of us just to add in items with regards to local procurement. So that's something that is, so looking at best value and local procurement as a first option where we raise reasonably practical use. So that's what's been proposed tonight.
Questions? We read the policy starting with the council training. We've registered with the agreement on this, so please respond to again, proposal. Okay, thank you all, then, all agreed? All right, council training policy.
Not a councillor training policy.
Thank you, Councillor. Maybe I've read this earlier. It's just to make sure that all councils should be trained. And if training courses come up, we should, if you've done, should go. That's, it's important. I thought waste of time until I actually went on one. And make sure that a lot of things you understand. I think Tom said the difference between the district council, the county council and the regions. There are differences. Any questions, can you know?
Yeah, but just in line with the legislation that you adopted as well, that said that the councils will be council training, so it's like policies will introduce as well.
Are they going to the institutions possibly, if there's some classes more important than others, or are they just going to be some blanket in terms of technical decisions?
Yeah, so there is no compulsory training for any councillors, well, it's good practice to attend the training courses that's provided.
And if you miss a association and then for some reason they're set, because will be, there's an email that you can catch up, with recorded, going in.
Yeah, we'll always make sure that we will try and record any sessions, so then we can post to people so they can get to you. We've had a couple of people have missed before, so we've been able to send them out.
In all the policies, all the training for staff. Separate last week, when separate.
Yeah, so there's already been some separate ones.
I was going to mention similar to Julie, it would be great if actually we could record, it should be like a, not compulsory recording of all meetings, but a training, but that would be kind of what we should do on one occasion, so that where they are not able to attend. And if they could be available on Teams, we can then just watch them on catch up around doing other things. Because it would be their meaning that there isn't really within the reason why people can't do that training, so to speak.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happened.
Just
Can I just ask about the chairperson's training, just because it's referencing here with the time frame on it, we've got that scheduled in the chairs.
I believe it's next.
it says
This week. Wonderful, okay, so that's it. I just wonder if there's any training which is compulsory. I would say it's that. I think our chairs are really important because I think the chairs are going to be more and more responsible for the business of the council. I think if there's any group of people who absolutely should be undertaking training, it's the chairs and deputy chairs of committees. I think it's going to be some responsibility of those people as the council becomes more mature.
as we're lucky that the person giving the trains very quite like that, they should. And someone who's been the council is that not continuous. So, yes, it's next week.
That's what this is.
Yes.
Reporting.
Honestly,
On the tree and chairs, will be one of my last tree and chairs for future residents. I think there's a lot of people who would never be able to achieve a role. They might like to take one, but maybe to go rather than exactly. So would that be possible? If you would like.
If I can just interrupt, I think this training is, it's in the beginning, it's just for chairs and vice chairs. So that's provided by Sol. And I think there will be some training in the future for would-be chairs.
ask the question, is it online, it's on Zoom, for this training session. But is there any reason why there's other people can't go into it? There's nothing secret,
There's only 2 spaces,
that one,
yeah.
decision.
But if it's something that maybe that's recorded, then we can pass certification afterwards.
I will ask Sol to send them the recording and put it on Teams so you can access it.
Something that's solved, and having got a paperwork as much energy. Should be put around, yes, so.
Sorry, it's been a long day, Chair, but just checking the text in 3.2, talking about chairpersons. Is there a missing or it says all members appointed to the chair will be expected within 3 months of appointment to attend the chairperson's training course within 6 months of their appointment. They have not previously completed training. Is there an all missing there or?
6 months,
I've read it 5 times. It might be just me.
You know,
Yeah, it should be in all. I think it's the same, we want to do it, but it's effectively within 3 months. Or within 6 months if they are not previously untraining.
I think it just needs amending slightly.
Well, I'm boring.
But I think 6 months, you must be trained within 6 months. You certainly about that.
I think it should be that. I think it needs to be like, I think it needs to be within 3 months, otherwise you've done half a year and not done any training, and I think that could be a detriment to this council. So it should be within 1 or 2 months really, but 3 months if it's that we're trying to find a training provider.
Oh, sorry.
So, yeah, and that's almost, I think it's possibly the wrong way around, because those who have done the training before should be given longer to do it again, because they've already done it. So the minute it's written as, if you've never done any training, you need to do it within 3 months. So everyone has to do it within 3 months. If you've not done any training, you can do it within 6. It's almost the wrong way around. If you've done it before, it should be within 6. If you've never done it, you should definitely have done it within 3. But I think that's almost a good point, because I'm probably sure to Matt said I don't actually do it within 3 months. But full stop the training. I'm happy to propose that and yeah, and you can put in there unless there are exceptions, that's not.
Yeah, so how long do you want it for?
It should be within 3 months.
It should be within 3 months.
It should be 3 months. It's too long. And if I remember rightly, Sol said that even if you've done the training, you should always do a second time because things change within the time. And they're very critical doing that.
That's fine, we can make that.
Do you have questions?
Do you have a proposal or supplement to that amendment?
Tom? All agreed? That's for the amendments. Put that amendment in, would everybody agree to the, as it is then? Policy, yes? Yes, sir. Yeah,
but just saying, I agree.
you agree? Okay. Thanks. So. Data breach policy. Stop getting lost there.
We've just done that.
No, that, but it's been there twice.
It's the same report.
It's the same report, it's on the agenda, it's on the agenda, supposed to be already done.
It's like, okay. The flags that are on account.
Do you want me to hand over to Sally, she can give you some background information on something?
So, we currently hold all harmony with NatWest and CCLA. And even though CCLA are providing us with really good interest, which is very exciting, we probably should spread our risk. And to do that work, and to open lots of bank accounts and lots of signatories is quite hard. So very keen when I spoke to an auditor who deals with lots of councils, when he said to me that there is this option which I'm very for, and it's where you can open one particular account with a company like so. You can then select how you want to invest those funds with banks and legal societies. You don't actually have to go and open 20 different bank accounts with all the signatories, so they will do it for you. So there is a fee and there is a charge, but when we look at the interest rates that they offer, actually having Googled that myself, and after I spent quite a long time at the very beginning looking at that, you can't find these fields when you're just trying to search because they're within millions of other bank accounts when you're looking at them. So this is an opportunity that the council could spread their risk with their funds. We're not part of the financial compensation deposit scheme, so we're not protected by that. So how we put our funds and how we spread them is probably important to understand. And this opportunity gives us, a way where we can spend those funds in a way that is easily managed and less time consuming in terms of opening and closing, maybe shorter term deposit.
Yes, sir.
But there's obviously purely be about sort of, financial banks or basically other sort of financial opportunities.
So Blackstone only look at high street banks. It's not an investment as such. It is banks and building societies that offer higher rates of business type deposits for cash.
Thank you.
So, yes, I will. Yes, but Rachel.
Oh, thank you, Amber. I've got a few questions on this. Firstly, in relation to, so are we saying that the CCLA, we've only got one account with them and therefore we can't do multiple accounts, but you're just saying it's because of the risk presented by the CCLA, but I thought that the CCLA was there to support local authority in its funds and was there to protect because of that, but I could misunderstand that they always have thought that every single local government event I go to, so they are very, I thought they were very big in the local government world, and there was no protection there type of that. My concern around Flagstone is it might be that I just need to do more research, and where I just don't feel comfortable right now is around the ethical nature of the banks that we would be investing in by doing it through this. So how do we know that it's not banks that do, I don't know, arms trading or the tobacco trade? And I know all investments have an element of that, but I'm just trying to understand the control mechanisms that we have in order to control that by going out into that market.
So I think the risk that we have with CCLA is that if something happens to CCLA, we've got a significant sum of money in that one deposit. And therefore, I think our auditor would expect us to spread the risk more than it is currently, even though I think it's probably well protected. But there have been issues in the past with other things, but I don't know that we want to be in that position. With regards to ethical, I didn't look at particularly ethical investments, and the rate of return is significantly less than we would look at in terms of these. You do get some choice in how you look at these, and we could do our own additional research in terms of that. So one of those was Hampshire Trust Building Society. We can do additional research of our own for investment in those that are suggested in terms of the rate return.
To come back on that, I would be really interested to know what other councils doing as very continuing this year in relation to some of the funding that they've got. Take, for example, Froome is an example of what kind of reserve it's got. I'm just not 100% comfortable at the moment with this.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I'm the next.
Yes, no, I'm going to agree with that region, but I wouldn't be comfortable with us sort of going for the higher yields, but it's investing in things that we, well, I personally would sort of agree with, and I think maybe a lot of other people would, such as the examples with Dartmouth Training Centre back in. So I think at the moment, I probably would be supporting this recommendation at the moment.
On the, sorry, I'll let you go first.
I just wanted to ask, obviously, the options are 3-month notice accounts. How much impact would that have if we didn't go for the instant access? If the majority of our money, I assume, would be tied up, or significant majority of money be tied up in a 3-month access account.
And in terms of the difference in the interest that we earn,
Then we'll just be able to access the large sum of money. If we need to do it within 3 months.
we can budget towards understanding that we could put 3 months away, not all of it, but a particular amount of it, and we wouldn't need to touch it for 3 months because we can still use CCNA, we've still got some money in that rest. So it's about spreading those, and actually we can put 3 months notice on it, and then if we did need to use it in 3 months time, it would be available. But I think we can spread that at the moment, which is why I only wanted 3 months actually, because we're getting to the end of the year and we'll have retail expenses.
Yes.
Just to remind me on the kind of direction of travel. So I'm in agreement with the principle that we should spread our risk. That's absolutely right. We absolutely need to do that. I think I am with Ed and Ethel in saying that I would only be comfortable supporting that if there's an ethical investment policy that comes alongside this, which is a serious question that we ask ourselves before we identify what your banking accounts we're comfortable to invest money. I think that's with this then. It's the right thing to do. I don't want to accidentally put money somewhere where we probably shouldn't.
And just I think that most financial companies usually have chosen equal investments. So we can say we are making about 5% that you will have an option that purely uses non-behavioral businesses. That's usually standard practice. They don't have it.
Yes.
So, just a quick question then. So you mentioned about the orders with expectancy scheme that we spread our risk. If we were to choose obviously not to at some point, could that mean adverse rating or something that we haven't done now? Is that, it's more about the spreading the risk as opposed to the return. So could they return, a report saying actually the money we should do?
Only in my past, I was told that we should have 2/3 of on-third spread. We're probably not quite there. We've got quite a lot of money in policies today, not the third. So I don't think they're far. I don't think it would give us a negative response if we just needed something to be really mindful of. And actually, we can also present that you are being mindful of it because we are considering it. I think it's being discussed, and I expect that to have a benefit.
Anybody else? Right, I'm sorry about that. I have my concerns because I'm down somewhere else. And we do spread out. We decide to spread it with high street banks, with societies. So we know exactly where we were. I'm going to be careful I say, so I don't want to cause an event. You go back like one go. We know of that one or two other councils who had lost money because they didn't pay. They went somewhere else. Others in this one, they have the money and then they keep the investment. That's what they don't do it that way. How exactly do they give the return? They're not always speak bank.
So they invest the money in the 10, well, there's 100 high-street living societies. All of the living societies that are on their list are within the top 100. And you're, depending on your choice, when you decide to go for one investment for short term, you can put all your money in one of those banks or those society, or you can choose to spread the risk across, say, 85,000 in each one. So you choose, it's not something that they choose, but they give you the options of all of the highest rate of paying the yields that are available at that particular time. So effectively they're doing the research in terms of the yield, but not necessarily the ethical responsibility of the particular building society model. So that is.
Yes.
Can I propose we defer next meeting?
I think so.
That we just do some further research, whether that's speaking with staff or maybe someone like the room or what's the room, another town council, and then just seeing what they do, just to get a kind of general feel.
I would be happy to do that. I've seen a number of councils have lost money because of they've failed. Could be my last district council, on my one, the last district council on something, so. Unfortunately, but they are saying what is true.
So just to be clear, I don't think I'm concerned about us losing money from it. So I don't think that's the risk. I think the risk is more where the money's placed. I think the protection's there that the money will be okay. It's just it might accidentally end up in an account doing something that we would have wanted to be doing. So I think that the risk in terms of losing the money, I'm not too worried about. It's more just it's the ethical side of where that money's being invested.
In terms of where the money currently is, do we have any say about where they invest at the moment? So they could be at this moment in time investing it in places where we as a council might be comfortable with.
My understanding is that the CCLA is ethical council based specific investments, public sector deposit funds, so they are very aware of exactly what they're like, they are very acutely aware of who their customers are.
I think we should focus again. I don't feel happy with it. No, number of people probably won't remember the Icelandic bank problem, where I know council lost millions because of it. Now that is a guarantee. You really can stop. Is there anybody else suggesting would you want to propose that? Do we defer it?
Yeah, okay, I'm happy to pay.
Okay, can I have a second there? Oh, thank you, Julie, thank you. On my apology, Julie, I forgot you, so just a second, question or something. Apologies. Does everybody agree with that? That's probably, that's good, thank you. Internal financial controls.
Yeah, so this document just sets out the internal financial controls and the council shall adhere to. It details the procedures which incorporate efficient and effective internal controls and adequate separation of duties where possible and risk and performance management.
Any questions? I have no proposals for it, please. Good. Second then? Okay. Everybody agrees with this? Thank you. That is risk management strategy.
So when you do your annual returns, you've got your social fine, where you have to say that you're accountable for the risks. So you have to have a risk management strategy in place, so we just put in place where everyone. Total 10 minutes is the first annual return.
Are there any questions? Proposal for please. Yes, Tom. Can I step into the place as well? Thank you for the recap. Okay, everyone agree on that? You. Hopefully bank reconsidered that they should then. There's nothing really to, that's an established thing. And we're all, again, on another parish council, we have an audit, an audit committee every quarter. Because everything's in the baseline. But that's a standard thing again.
Yes, so we're just noting that the bank reconciliation of quarter one has been reconciled and checks have been undertaken by the chair finance.
Yeah, that's. So it's a standard for the project with the parishes. Can I have a proposal for this? Second for Rika, everybody agreed? Thank you. Request from the toilet working group. Somebody is for Rika. Sorry.
I'm chair of the toilet working group. I'm thinking that I will on to for a while. And we requested that we have football counters, so that we can understand even further and we prioritise the maintenance, the refurbishment and renovations of our toilets, because we can all have a general opinion as to which ones we think are busier, but actually we even want to go further than that. As an example, in looking at actually what is the use of our disabled facilities, and by having football counters we are able to look at our data in detail, and in my world data is king, so that we can then use that to use the resources that we've got in the town council appropriately. In looking at the report that's come forward, I love the idea of option 2, that we own them, because I think actually owning football counters means that we can then use in other events, not just for monitoring our toilets, but let's say the business community wants our help in looking at how St James's Street works as an example, and what kind of the movement is around there. Or we want to see, by putting on events in Prizewood, do we get the numbers that we think that we're getting, and that is a reason for grants or other things. I think it opens up a world of data, and I can't say quite science now, that means that we can then benefit the community, because we can really shape, rather than going on hearsay, we can say, well, actually, the reason that we're choosing to do Castle Green toilets is because it's used far more, and we can statistically prove that, than Hamilton Park toilets.
I think option 2 is a bit of a no-brainer, considering the cost to hire them for 2 months. It's double. So, and I think it's a very sensible approach. It's not just isolated to one specific project. As Brendan said, it can be opened up to many other avenues. So I'm very happy to support this one.
Thank you. It's been no pleasure to ask this, but how are they secured? Because in certain toilets they will be spotted and removed, unfortunately.
So I did ask this question of option 1. I just give this opportunity to point out option 1 will give you much more meaningful data. You would get timed data. Option 2 is only going to give you account, so you will get something from that, just so you're aware. In terms of how they're going to be put in, this will be a job for our handyman, in terms of how they can be securely located, and they'll be able to support around how we can manage that. I believe we can put boxes around them, because it only the things to So we do need to look at that. I did have that conversation with option one because I was concerned about them being removed and our cost on hiring them and that not being a problem. So there will need to be a bit of work on that.
Yes, sir.
With option two, at least the cost of sort of putting up, removing, getting the data at £1,000. Is that sort of every time for every week, or is that, you know, spread over a year? Such?
I guesstimate those costs on our staff costs, because I will be there on Thursday, but we know how many twins we've got, and I've given a rough estimation. And I think we probably only need them in there for a couple of months, but they're all at least a month in terms of us understanding all of the toilets being counted at the same period in time, which is important for us because seasonal use and all of those things would make it different if we didn't do all the same time.
Yes, sir.
So sort of going on that, if we did keep the counts there for a month, would it say cost £4,000 or would it be about £1,000 in that month?
I've estimated that the cost for equipment in and taking out is £1,000 in start,
Okay,
and including going every week and taking the figures if that's the research.
yeah.
So that's good.
Sorry.
Yeah, should the committee give any, I agree with Federica that data is key. Should any extra emphasis though be put on, it may work out this way, be put on areas where visitors to the town are more likely to be. So, for example, Council Green, if you finish lowest cap, I don't know, it's just something that's in my mind whether we should consider that when we get the results back.
And my reason for thinking around data again, because when I get started talking about data too, is that we're thinking to the future and cleaning and maintenance. If we understood our peaks and flows better, which we won't with option two, we could manage our service around that, but maybe we could do a hybrid station.
Stop.
Sally Storm 100, that's exactly what we might say, which I think option two will get us a data level where we can understand where the need is. So we can get through these 2 sites and 3 sites, it will identify quite quickly where the need is. I think once we're then more sophisticated, hopefully we've done a really nice refit and they're all looking great down the line. Then maybe looking at the peaks and troughs to know what our maintenance alongside that should look like would be an option. So I think I'd like to go option two, I think, to get going on it, but I think we should keep option one in mind down the line when we want that extra richness of data. Because I think you're right when it comes to maintenance. We know where the peak is, you know, before we possible to go and check just after that to make sure we're looking okay. Sorry.
Stop.
Just it's all about information. When, sorry.
I was going to come in on further on that because it excites me as well, and kind of on that. I wonder if we can, as a committee, say when we build our budget for next year, we build in that option one cost into it, because I think within a year, that will be the kind of data that we then need to move to the next level.
I presume this is going to be brought to the full council. It's not. So, can maybe it's me, maybe I'm again not being given what I'm saying. People in the town don't want information. What they want is what I know that. I'm sure you might know that. On another thing I do, I happen to be working here or being a welcome at the Minster. And the number of people just come into the Minster and say, I don't know what's wrong with you, we can't find anything. That's what people want. So it's something that needs to be done quickly. Once you've got it right, we're not watching what they do on their toilets, they've got it right. Because they knew people were, their toilets were closed, I think, for about 3 months. And they had the town council got it in the neck. So, you know, this ought to be put out to the open into the bottom and said, we're doing this and this is what we expect and this is what we expect to happen. I'm not on for the facts and figures. People have to tell you what they want to. You understand, it's all.
Obviously, people will tell you what they want, but we need to be able to justify spending the money. You know, I went to a great meeting the other day with, some staff and at one of the toilets, and it was a choice example of how absolutely disgusting some toilets can be within 5 minutes of them being cleaned. But knowing which ones are the busy ones is going to be absolutely crucial. We're looking at actually there's going to be short-term fixes, and hopefully we can do some of those things, and that's part of the working group's remit to look at those things. But we need to look at some of the longer-term projects that have cost more money than need evidence. If we want to apply for funding, if there's grants that we can get, we need to be able to justify how we're spending the money. So I think the option 2, being able to own our own, whilst the data will be quite sophisticated, it will be detailed enough for us to know which are the higher ones, and then be able to see an improvement or decrease once we've made changes, actually are the changes that we have made, making an improvement in the usage of those facilities. So that investing in option 2, I think, is absolutely crucial for giving us the ability to know all sorts of really useful data.
It's not. It's fine.
So I no, I think you're absolutely right. The use cases are what don't become really exciting, but I mean, the asset is that then we start using in different ways. Not just in the town centre, go around town, but whatever we might want to do. Because I think the facts and examples, I think people have anecdotal stories, but we need to base decisions we make as a council on the facts and the figures, unfortunately, not on just the anecdotal stories give context, but it's not necessarily the reality of the situation. I think this helps paint a picture of reality. And you see how in the future there might be examples where we run a joint campaign, as an example, with Bath Place to promote their shops, and then we would want to count people before and after the campaign to see what the impact's been. So it gives you extra ways that you can measure the impacts of the things that we're doing as a town council. Like, that's quite exciting.
Any more questions? We'll say, somebody quick, if we see all the people out there know things will be done better. I was on duty in Route 4 last, and a lady had come from the town centre, with 3 young children, to the minister. So your open source for this, please look around, she's not talking. I suppose you just come from the town, there's one in the town. Where? People don't know what they're.
I think that's a separate issue around signposting rather than actually,
But it's all together for sure.
yeah, but I think there's a separate issue around how we show people where their assets are, isn't it?
Right. That's for everyone else.
Need a
The
proposal.
proposal, please, on that's.
Should-
Yes, exactly, and that will, now we'll have. Everybody agreed. Thank you.
I think
There's the plans.
This is just to resolve to know that the payment that has been made between the 1st of July and the 31st of July.
We get, sorry. Go ahead.
You'll get them quarterly at the meetings.
Not before.
Anything over £500, spend over £500 goes off to the person, which means balance.
Yes, sorry.
Thank you. There's a couple of payments from Amazon for things like stationery, and sort of other things. Do you know if there's other not sort of shops in town or around an area that we can get those from?
Some of those things were fairly bespoke, so one of them was a visitor log book. I don't think there was anywhere in town that we could find what we're going to be for, so to purchase for do look at those other options.
I might say that it's Amazon and probably the cheaper way of doing it. If you go to some of the covers or any of the major other outlets, you'll find it more expensive, or they've got lots of quality. Bookers sell paper, but it's very poor quality. I think it's sensible way, I think. Are there any other questions? Oh, sorry.
I was just going to go what Ed, briefly on what Ed said, I think it's a balance, isn't it? It's balance against speed, but it's also a balance that we want to, we've just amended one of the policies further up, to say that we want to be local where possible. So the same applies, I guess, on how we do our business, but again, we just need at an operational level, to let operators decide whether we then.
Any other questions? Can I have the proposal, please? Thanks. Second. Vanessa, all in favour? The income and expenditure report.
So, Sally, we actually talk you through this and give you all the information and questions that we have, but obviously this is just going to show you funds that's been received and funds that have been spent so far and where we are within the budget that we're projected to spend at the end of the financial year. So if anybody has any questions.
But we've just got two commitments that we put in. Because we've got some commitments that we know that are committed, and then we've got some other things that we think are going to happen. So rather than thinking, well, you think actually that's what's made really bad things. So we are trying to split them out. So we know that there are some things that need to be made for commitment one, which we understand are possible, and then in option two, that there may be more estimated because we know something's going to happen. We know it's going to cost so much that we haven't well all of the detail. So it's just to understand those point two. We've got some earmark spend as well, which is in the mix, interesting, which is the money received from the implementation budget that we spent and some other funds which will be interested to be marked. So hopefully all things we've got that coming out and spend.
Any questions? Can I have a proposal, please? Ed? Councillor second. All in favour? Right, it is now something o'clock, it's now 7:25. Is it working, we can stop now, or would you like a bit of time just to get things started?
You've got one
Yes.
last agenda item which is confidential, so we can, there's a meeting,
Did you want to break? I think
there's a recorder.
I think it's worth carrying on,
Just go.
one more big thing together and then we can.
The council is now going into closed session. Can we start recording, please?